Want to level up your leadership? Welcome to The Boss Coach.
Hey boss, how's business? Patrick got me talking in metrics. Hey boss, how's business? I'm the boss coach of my own moves. Hey Brad! Da, 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 da.
You know, there's not a ton of happy news out there lately, but at least my theme song gets me in good spirits, you know what I mean? It's kind of up-tempo, which sets the quick pace for the rest of the episode. See, there's a method to my madness. Well, hey boss, how's business? Hey, are your costs under control? Whether it's cost of sales, cost of labor, incidentals, whatever, they can really torpedo your growth. If you don't know what the cost side looks like on the ledger, talk to your accounting team. They'd love to talk to you about it. Just drink some coffee first. Well, thanks for clicking and listening. My name is Patrick McGranahan. Welcome back to The Boss Coach. If this episode was shared with you by a very thoughtful friend and you're new, please check out the podcast trailer. That's episode 100. It gives you background on what The Boss Coach is all about, what my mission is, what my journey looks like, etc. And of course, check out all of season 1 for lots of helpful stuff, including basics on leadership and ways to level up your game. Well, it is sequel time again. You know, there's some repeating themes from last season, like the servant leadership follow-up I just did recently. There'll be a couple more later in the season also. If you recall from last season, there was episode 108, I believe. I looked at 3 new leader mistakes, and I called it The Boss Coach Big 3.
The Boss Coach Big 3. Yeah!
It's the rule of 3, you know. It's simple to remember, and we can spend more time breaking down fewer points. So this Big 3 is inspired by a very recent Fast Company article about 3 rare behaviors of great leaders that most people skip. See, this season we're talking more about advanced subjects, and my slogan is level up your leadership, after all. And this Big 3 is all about next level skills. They emphasize that most bosses avoid the effort for these 3 behaviors. They're not that complicated, but they are uncommon. So today's topic is for you leaders who go the extra mile. Is that you, boss? Are you rare?
Hey, how do you like yours?
Rare, medium rare.
Medium rare. Aristocrat.
Okay, to preface this a little bit, we've pointed out before that new leaders don't get a lot of training, right? If any. Less than 40% get any training to be a leader or manager. They're just promoted because they're good at their job. But somehow we're still spending billions of dollars a year on management training. How? Well, that money's going to senior leadership development, not newer leaders who really do need it the most. Fast Company calls it the leadership gap. Now, I've said senior leaders keep promoting high-performing individual contributors into leadership roles and expecting them to just figure it out on the fly. Many don't have the time, the support, or the temperament to lead people very well. And then we're surprised when the results are uneven or the team burns out. We need to start with a more fundamental question. Are we choosing the right people to lead? And, more important, are we modeling the leadership behaviors that we want them to learn? That leads us to these 3 rare behaviors that great leaders have, but not many others.
The Boss Coach Big 3. Yeah!
Rare behavior number 1, build trust through real, intentional caring. That's right, caring. Remember, you can't teach people to care, so that goes back to promoting the right people. A great leader shows interest in people's work, their goals, and their long-term direction. They're curious about what motivates each person on their team and intentional about creating opportunities that stretch their skills. Now, this isn't soft woo-woo stuff. It's emotional engagement, and it's one of the biggest drivers of performance and retention. Again, not just the right thing to do, but the profitable thing to do too. Think of it this way. When you support your people through promotions and pay raises, first and foremost, internal moves, stretch assignments, or removing obstacles from their path through servant leadership, it sends a powerful message that you matter. You matter to them and the team. It shows that you care. But let me explain here. This is not a one-time gesture like sending flowers, but it's an ongoing behavior. And that drives change, right? Making it all part of your leadership DNA, part of your brand and your identity. So trust through caring looks kind of like this. So I have this one employee recently who was interviewing for a really great promotion on a different team in the same company. Now, would that set my current team back quite a bit to lose her? Yes, very much. She's actually a charter member going back several years, knows where all the bodies are buried, extremely impactful, and yes, it would be a difficult one to lose. However, I care about her personally, and I've grown attached to the entire team, but for her, this is the opportunity that she needs and deserves that we were not able to give her on the current team. It's not a stretch for her professionally, but it's definitely a leg up for her financially. So I am rooting for her to get this position and hoping the opportunity finds her because that's best for her. See, you're putting the people above your needs, and that is part of a rare behavior that most don't have, caring.
The Boss Coach Big 3. Yeah!
Okay, rare behavior number 2. Use empathy to drive results. Yes, empathy. Another example of A, how these are not obvious behaviors, but rare ones, and B, emphasis is on the effectiveness from a results standpoint, not just the ethical validation of it. In 2018, a global training company called Development Dimensions International assessed over 15,000 leaders across 20 industries and found that empathy was the strongest predictor of overall performance, especially the ability to listen and respond with empathy. Science backs the importance of rare empathy, and that hasn't changed. If anything, the modern workplace with hybrid teams, rising burnout, AI, the constant change, etc., has made empathy even more essential. But empathy isn't a strategy you perform, and it doesn't come on a to-do list. It shows up in how you listen, how you check in, and how you respond to someone else's reality, even when their experience is different than your own. Empathetic leaders don't just hear what people say, they understand the context, the emotions, and the challenges behind it. And that perspective creates psychological safety, and that safety unlocks creativity, problem solving, and collaboration. You know, I think I felt you bristle a little bit there, boss. Understanding their context and emotions really sounds like some high-level emotional intelligence stuff, but it's a lot more obvious than it sounds. Let me put it in this context. Let's say your company repairs roofs. So our neighborhood's going through this recently. We had a big hailstorm, and so there's roof companies crawling all over the place. As an individual contributor, your job would be to install the roof using tools, right? Now, when you switch to the leader mindset, you can't still think of your job as installing roofs. If so, you will treat your reports, the individual contributors, as tools. That never works out. As a leader, your job is now to take care of the individual contributors so they install the roofs beyond expectations. Oh, I think you bristled again. So you think that this makes you sound less vital to the cause. No. You're absolutely essential because to do this requires rare skills that the others don't have. Engines require fuel. Plants need sun. Ships need a captain. You're all working to the same goal, but your responsibility is to your people, and that's all. That's your focus. Simple as that. With that mindset, just zero in on giving them whatever they need to do the job, and they'll do it, and they'll do it well. You drive their productivity through empowerment, engagement, and motivation, and empathy. You build them, and they build the roof. Here's a small example of using empathy to drive results. We do a couple times a week something called a Q review. That's where we screen share, we go in together and look at all the most difficult and pernicious issues that we're kind of stumped on, and we figure them out together using collaboration. Now, I don't know how to solve all the things that my team does on this internal support team. I'm not in the weeds enough to understand it. However, what I can do is run the screen and open the tickets and ask for opinions and suggest escalations. But I'm not actually doing the work. I am supporting them to get the work done. I am finding out at that point what they need to be able to resolve these issues on a daily basis. Staying connected enough to know how they do what they do, but knowing that I'm not driving the work directly, but I'm supporting them who get the work done. Simple as that.
The Boss Coach Big Three. Yeah!
Okay, now rare behavior number 3. Be radically transparent. Radically. Remember the Mr. Cellophane episode on transparency last season? Well, this kicks it up a notch. You already know that a transparent culture builds trust and fosters collaboration. When people feel safe voicing their thoughts, it deepens engagement and it creates a more resilient and trustworthy team dynamic. But what does that look like? It looks like encouraging your employees to ask questions. Yes, even the hard ones you don't want to answer. People also don't stress around transparent leaders, and teamwork isn't undermined because information is shared openly to let everyone know what's going on at all times. Going a step further, studies prove that organizations that share privileged information with their employees, typically reserved for the ivory tower in command and control power structures, reduce uncertainty and alleviate stress about where you're all headed and why. One example of openness is a social media optimization company called Buffer. It goes so far as to post its formula for salaries online. Everyone can see it, including the compensation of the CEO. Wow. But how does this drive results? Well, everyone plays the game better when you know the rules. Nobody's hiding cards, nobody's stealing game pieces, you're all on the same side. Withholding information creates a power imbalance which breeds animosity and interpersonal battles, which kills performance, boss. Now here's a pretty good example of radical transparency. When the company was going through mergers and acquisitions a few years ago, we were at the point where we were figuring out which operations teams matched up with other operations teams on both sides of the two companies, so we knew how it was all going to fit together. We had to decide what the new structure looked like and how all the individual contributors would be divided up. So during this process, instead of just doing it all in the back room, we had these discussions openly with the employees. Here's this new team that we think you fit on, or maybe you think you fit on that one. So they got to really kind of choose their own adventure about where they went. They were fully transparent with how it was going to work and where they were going to go. And more importantly, they understood they would still have jobs. So with that fear taken away, with that lack of clarity, with the stress that comes with that, they were freed up to get excited about what the new organization looked like and get ready for their new challenge. Okay, so this Boss Coach Big 3,
The Boss Coach Big 3.
thank you very much, is 3 rare behaviors. Build trust through real intentional caring. Use empathy to drive results and be radically transparent. Again, these skills are rare and they require effort on your part. More than that, it's a commitment to try, right? And the bottom line is this: no leadership framework works without spending real time with your people. Learn who they are, what energizes them, and what blocks them. Understand their strengths, their motivations, their values, and their blind spots. Focus on them and the results will follow. If you really want to advance your leadership impact, and you're here listening because you do want to do that, then start by serving. Learn what matters to the team. Shape the roles that offer meaning and purpose. Use their strengths wisely and champion their growth, even if that growth eventually takes them to a new team or a new company. It's what's best for them, and that's what drives results. When you invest in people like that, you don't just build stronger teams, you build a healthier culture, a deeper bench of future leaders, and long-term success for everyone involved. This is a rare case where doing the right moral thing is also the profitable thing. And that is a win-win, boss. So here's what you can do right now to level up your leadership with these 3 rare behaviors. I want you to make a list of your reports, direct and indirect. Just line them up on a spreadsheet and ask yourself, how well do I really know each one of these people? Rate it from 1 to 10, 10 being best. Anyone rated under 7, I want you to set up a special one-on-one to socialize only, not talk shop, but just learn all about them. Find out what motivates them, find out what makes them tick, and what they value. That is how to be rare and radical. Well, thank you for your time again. I'm Patrick McGranahan, the Boss Coach. Make sure to follow the Boss Coach if you're on Spotify. You know, some platforms have you subscribe or whatever. Doesn't matter, it's free. But either way, you need to get notified of new episodes when they drop. And as most of you know, they drop every Monday morning. Thank you to my new subscribers too. I really appreciate that. As well as my international subscribers. I sure hope that you're getting a lot of good information from this. And a special shout out to the people on my teams currently who listen. I appreciate you for listening. I hope you don't mind that I'm talking about you, but it's great to have you as a listener as well. Remember to like and leave comments too. That's what the algorithm likes. Comment on which rare behaviors you think you have. Also, keep sharing episodes, especially with people that you know want to level up their leadership just like you're doing it in big ways. They will thank you. And finally, thank you for engaging in the TikTok and Instagram videos I do with Boss Cat. Those are pretty funny. You got to meet Boss Pug and see a little bit of what goes on inside the Boss Coach / Lego Room headquarters. Until then, I'll see you next time on The Boss Coach. Back to work, boss.
Thank you for joining us today for The Boss Coach, hosted by Patrick McGranahan. We'd also like to thank our associate producer, Hannah, and consulting contributor, Stephanie. Original music provided by Sono AI Studio. All statements and opinions by our host and guests are solely their own observations and may not reflect those of their contemporaries or employers. Please check out other episodes of The Boss Coach for more valuable opportunities to level up your leadership. Until next time, I am your announcer, Ava. Have a great day, and as always, lead with your heart.